Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahabushai, Bahasham, Barakahak Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahabushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson, and I'll be profiling an article from peoplesworld.org titled Project Esther, Next Chapter of Project 2025, Plans Destruction of Palestine Solidarity Movement. And of course, Project 2025 was put together by those pro-Trump Republicans for a possible second Trump term, which, as it stands right now, Trump is about to enter his second term. And hey, it's got a lot of stuff in there that's going to shake things up heavily. And this Project Esther is just another example of that. And hey, this perfectly plays into the famine of the word, where the men of the Lord are no longer going to be on the highways and byways, or these video epistles are no longer going to be online. This is Amos chapter 8. I'm going to read verses 11 to 13. Behold, the days come, which at this point we can say the days cometh quickly, because we are at the door of all these things taking place, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, though those things are coming as well, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. And they shall wander from sea to sea, from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. And when the famine of the word truly hits, you Israelites, or so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who spent this grace period when the word was freely available, hey, scoffing at it, not taking it seriously, casting it behind your backs. So when the famine of the word hits and you're knee-deep in Jacob's trouble, hey, you won't have any answers for all these things that are coming your way. The only answer you're going to receive is that death by pain, as it says in 2nd Esdras chapter 9. Let me get verse 13 real quick. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst, spiritually being thirsty, because they won't have that knowledge, wisdom, and stability, as it says in Isaiah 33 verse 6, to be the stability of their times during Jacob's trouble. And I was inspired to do this lesson by the brothers up in the Chicago camp. They did a live stream on Elder Malcolma's YouTube page titled Malcolma, and they went into this information a little bit. So, this is some spiritual adding on to it. But hey, after we go into this information, you sincere Akim and Akwat out there are going to see that, hey, things are quickly coming down the pipeline. So while we still have this time of liberty where we can freely get this word, drink from these rivers of living waters while you still can, because that spigot is about to get turned off, and you don't want to die of spiritual thirst out here and being dehydrated. Project 2025 has a new chapter, Project Esther, unveiled by the Ultra-Right Heritage Foundation on the 1-year anniversary of Israel launching its deletion campaign against the people of Gaza. Project Esther claims to present a national strategy to combat anti-simulationism, which at that point, anything that goes against the so-called official narrative dealing with the 1948ers, the little hats who are Amalekite Edomites, exposing who they are and the lies that they've been pushing, is considered anti-simulationism. And Donald Trump is a super, Zionist. He does everything he can to benefit the 1948ers. So with his second term, and this being a part of Project 2025, hey, it's going to go into overdrive. The document claims that anti-Zionism and pro-peace sentiments are always and in every case equivalent to anti-simulationism. It calls for infiltrating, surveilling, and destroying groups it identifies as being affiliated with an alleged global Hamas support network. But the key thing is infiltrating, surveilling, and destroying groups. What should come to mind is COINTELPRO and all these other programs, the U.S. government has come in the past to infiltrate you Israelites as groups, when you were the Black Panthers or whatever, to what? Set up moles, get you hemmed up, and destroy those groups. So do you think it's going to be any different with, the Hebrew Israelites? Because this is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans actually coming back to your true identity. And as it says in Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, which it has, mainly through the unicorn or the internet, and then shall the end come. With the Israelites waking up to their true identity and the prophets out there prophesying and the internet spreading this word to one end of the earth and to the other, hey, that's bringing about the end of these heathens, chiefly Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, which those Amalekite Edomites are, rulership. So with the elites understanding that and understanding that they are Edomites, and that once the Edomites are taken out of power this last time, that they're going into hardcore bondage and slavery before their entire nation is taken off the face of the earth, they are about to pull out all the stops to keep that from coming to pass. Revelation 12:12, rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them, but woe or destruction to the inhabitants of the earth, for the devil, the deceiver, Esau, Edom, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And, even outside of the Hebrew Israelites, chiefly the men of GMS or Great Millstone, going into these scriptures and going into history and exposing you Amalekite Edomites as well as you just Edomites as a whole. Hey, these, you've got other, so-called truth tellers out here, alternative media, even going in and exposing you 1948ers. And what are they using to do it? The internet. This internet has been a bane to the elites, because anybody with any bit of information can just put it out there and spread it to millions, billions. So in order for them to go forward and fully implement that NW0, they're going to have to cut off this internet. You had one of those Rockefellers say the worst, I'm roughly paraphrasing. He said, it might have been a David Rockefeller, could have been his name, but he pretty much said, the worst thing we ever let happen was the internet being freely available. Targeted organizations include, but are not limited to, Students for Justice in Palestine, American Muslims for Palestine, Jayish Voice for Peace, Alliance for Global Justice, the Tides Foundation, and even the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. It bizarrely alleges that these groups' motivations and understanding of history come straight from the pages of the Communist Manifesto, which, who was behind, communism, Karl Marx, or the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, with, what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. You had Leo Trotsky, you had Joseph Stalin, and you had Lenin, Vladimir Lenin. They were all Amalekite Edomites. Neither the Klan nor neo-Nazis are identified as possible targets in the project outline, as if anti-simulationism does not exist among the network of Edomite supremacist organizations that support MAGA. The full text of Project Esther is available on the Heritage Foundation website. It calls for partners to engage in a crackdown on education, speech, organizing, and fundraising that questions or challenges the 1948er government policy. It proposes that the executive branch of the U.S. government prosecute organizations that are critical of Israel. Our hope is that this effort will represent an opportunity for public and private partnership when a willing administration occupies the White House. Emphasis in the original. So, hey, it's calling for a crackdown in education, speech, organization, and fundraising that questions or challenges the 1948er government policy, which that's all, that's one of the main things we go into, showing that you 1948ers aren't the true children of the Most High, that you got that land, illegally into your hands. Ezekiel 36 verse 5, Joel 1 verse 3, and who the true children of Israel are, and that you will be taken out of power with the rest of your nation and taken out of that land. So while they're, putting up the image that it's those that are pro-Palestinian or part of a Hamas organization network, we know first and foremost who that main target is: the Hebrew Israelites. Again, Matthew 24 verse 12, this gospel being preached is bringing about the end of this current age of the heathens, chiefly of the Edomites. This is Isaiah chapter 29. I'm going to read verses 18 to 21. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness, the spiritual eyes and ears of the elect of the nation of Israel being opened up, and them coming back to their identity, through the prophets with the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, preaching this word, opening up the book and breaking it down correctly. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. Why? Because our people who have always, for these last couple of hundred years, been at the bottom of society, looked at as nothing, less than nothing, are realizing that we're actually everything. We're the children of the Most High, and we're going to inherit this world, and that these heathens, which have had their foots on the back of our necks, they're going to be underneath our boot heels, beginning with you, Edomites. This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty. First fired, last hired, being known as thugs and gangsters and welfare queens and spics and niggers and tontos. But thou art rich, because you are the children of the Most High. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are JEWSs and are not. Amalek, Ezekiel 36 verse 5, all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the Balfour Declaration and United Nations charters after World War II to fully cement that land to them. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are JEWSs. And what does it say in Jeremiah 17? Jeremiah 17, I believe it's verse 4. Jeremiah 17, verse 4. And this was a prophecy. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. But as we read in Revelation 2, verse 9, it said what? The blasphemy of them which say that they are the J's, which when you ask them, they say, oh, yes, we've always known that we were the people of the book. When you ask about that conflict between them and the Palestinians, that's been going on for thousands of years. But one of the prophecies would be that the children of Israel would discontinue or know their heritage. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, America and all these other places we've been scattered to. Joel chapter 3, Deuteronomy chapter 28. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever, which just means for a very long time, which we are at the end of that long time. I know thy poverty and thy tribulations and sorrows, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are the J's and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And who has synagogues out here? The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, but thou art rich, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. All our enemies, beginning with these Edomites, they're being taken down spiritually right now by the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Read 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Who he shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. First, the prophets prophesying this gospel of the kingdom being preached in all the world and bringing about the end. And then what? That physical judgment when Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, making his second coming to save his elect and make war against you heathens, you Edomites, who shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and then the brightness of his coming. And then after that, straight going into slavery. 21, that make a man an offender for a word, Project Esther, and lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. And this is definitely a snare. It calls for partners to engage in a crackdown on education, speech, organizing, and fundraising that questions or challenges the 1948er government policy. And now I'm going to jump around a little bit. According to Project Esther, the supposed Hamas support network has the following goals: legitimizing demonstrations in support of Palestinian rights, weakening U.S. military aid and diplomatic support of the 1948ers' military campaign against the Palestinian people, and advocating passive recognition of a Palestinian state that would include Hamas. Reporting from the Jewish Insider suggests the heritage faced great difficulty, Counter to the humanity of its namesake, Project Esther is ruthless. Foreign-born members of targeted organizations are to be deported. And hey, what's one of those things Trump is talking about? Getting the military involved to deport hundreds of thousands to millions of migrants in this country. Everything seems to be coming together perfectly. Sympathetic educators and staff are to be fired, and foreign students and faculty politically screened for visa purposes. Sympathy or affiliation with targeted organizations would result in an employment blacklist. And hey, over here, we don't support the 1948ers or the Palestinians. But hey, you got a lot of these other Israelite groups out there that have funny allegiances with other groups. You have IUIC, which I don't know if they've changed it or not, but on their 501c3 form, it says that their religious affiliation is Muslim. And then also what? They've been known to deal with the Nation of Islam, which, the Hamas, the Palestinians, they're tied to Islam. So you can see how things could easily be tied just by a, process of association with the Hebrew Israelites. Terms like social network analysis are used in the document to describe surveillance, infiltration, and disruption of social justice movements. Infiltration is endorsed as a tactic to sow distrust between organizations. The document even proposes identifying critical nodes, human individuals whose removal would be a major step towards destroying organizations the Heritage Foundation views as hostile to the corporate interests of both the 1948ers and the United States. So identifying, individuals within groups, such as the leadership, for what? Taking them out of the way, which we know they're going to roll on us, and some of us are going to be cast into prison, for the sake of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Revelation 2 and 10. I don't know why it's acting stupid right now. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. Hey, making a man an offender for a word and laying a snare for him. And again, that's that same devil, Esau, Edom. Cast you into prison, that ye may be tried. And ye shall have tribulation 10 days, which just means a complete amount of tribulation for whatever your lot is. Be thou faithful unto death, even if that is your lot, and I will give thee a crown of life. You'll be of that elect number. So we are coming into some deadly serious times, Akim. You know, as the elder apostles and older brothers and brothers say all the time, you know, a lot of Israelites don't understand what they're involved in. Well, you better quickly get acquainted with what you're involved in. This is a deadly serious situation we're in, and deadly serious times we're coming into. And as we can see, they've got projects and paperwork and legislation on the books ready to go. Just seeing if I want to go into this. Recalling the McCarthy era, even a whiff of sympathy for Palestinians, which, you know, that could just easily be labeled as anything against the 1948ers, would be enough to label an organization or individual part of the so-called Hamas network. And hey, we know that we are going to be labeled amongst the transgressors, being linked to these different, you know, patriot, teist, you know, supremacist, you know, organizations out here. This is Mark chapter 15. I'm going to read verses 27 to 28. And with him they crucified two thieves, the one on his right hand and the other on his left. Speaking of Yahushai, and Yahushai didn't commit any sins, but what? He was crucified amongst, you know, criminals. And they brought up a bunch of false charges against him to what? Get him hemmed up and have him condemned. And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And if we're coming in the stead of Yahushai, what? We're going to go through similar things. John 15, verse 20. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, labeled me amongst the transgressors, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. So just as Yahushai had his hour, you know, his Garden of Gethsemane moment, an hour of temptation, we're going to go through the very same things. But remember, whatever your lot is, Revelation 2 verse 10, hey, endure all these things unto the death if need be, and ye shall receive that crown of life. Recalling the McCarthy era, even a whiff of sympathy for Palestinians would be enough to label, being labeled amongst the transgressors, an organization or individual part of the so-called Hamas network. The document notes that essentially any group that seeks to unravel the fabric of American society, and we prophesied the downfall of America, that it's going to happen according to prophecy. And again, Matthew 24 verse 14, this gospel being preached is bringing about the end of this world. So we are easily labeled as enemies of the state, you know, can be labeled as those trying to unravel the fabric of American society, could be linked to this fantasy network, qualifying it for destruction. Thus, a war against anti-1948er sentiment would likewise be a war against the enemies of the Heritage Foundation. But you know, that's it with this article and with this video. We can see that things are quickly coming down the pipeline. 2024 is labeled the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble, and many great things have been happening, and many great things can still happen before 2025. And hey, if and when we do make it to 2025, hey, that year is just going to intensify things that much more. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere, Achium, and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.